Welcome to the Chaffin Church podcast. My name is Marty Holman. I am here with Ryan Thompson, my co-host, and the guy who has taken the bull by the horn in the last couple weeks and made this thing happen when, quite frankly, I haven't wanted to. That's not true at all. I was out and about, and so now I'm back. So Ryan, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
You're a good Swede.
You make it sound like most Swedes are bad when you say...
That's not what I said at all.
You are an exception. A good Swede.
I actually thought of it as a compliment to you. Like I was complimenting you.
Well, thank you.
As opposed to dissing other Swedes.
Okay.
Do you have a problem with other Swedes?
I don't, but, some people do.
Now, have the Swedes historically had an opponent? Like the United States and Russia?
But there was this long running sort of, and I can say this because I am Swedish. This long running kind of dig against Swedes. They would call them blockheads.
Is that true?
Like Sweden, Norway, a lot of them.
Like Charlie Brown.
Yeah. Yes. So because this was sort of a semi-common distinctive feature of people from that region. Statistically, a slightly larger forehead, right? And so they would call them blockheads.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
I had no idea about. I'm trying to think of any.
So my grandfather on my mother's side, who was Irish, would be like. When my mom first married my dad, who's Swedish, like he would just jokingly be like, "Oh, I never thought my daughter would marry a blockhead. This is great," So.
And then the Irish in her decided they started fighting. They put out her fist and started.
And there you go.
Okay,
that's how it went.
Anyways, we're here with Amanda Kane, who really wanted to get into discussion.
I did not come to diss on the Swedes.
Are you Swedish?
No, I am not.
She is not Swedish. Okay.
For the record,
Nobody's
what are
perfect.
you? What is your heritage?
Oh gosh, my maternal grandfather is in Newfie, Newfoundland.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but I've heard it's beautiful. Members of my family have been there. The rest of me is just like a waspy mutt.
A waspy mutt.
Yeah.
What is a waspy? What is?
Like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Oh, okay. That was an actual term.
That's a thing. Yeah.
What's the Y stand for?
White Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Well, E is just
Wasp-ish.
Okay, so that's
All I'm saying is I'm
antecedent.
like sort of British, Irish, English,
Okay,
what, Scottish,
that's awesome.
I don't know.
Hey, listen,
Welsh?
you had your day.
I don't know.
you, Marty, are also, for
I
that
am
matter,
pure-
waspy.
Yes,
You're quite waspy.
German and English. Germ-English.
Interesting.
Yeah, and maybe even Swedish.
Really?
But, no, I just wanted to say.
But you are a blockhead.
But I am a blockhead. I definitely am that. And anyways, Amanda is our chair, the chair of Chaffin Church.
She's the chair of the leadership team.
Of the leadership team. Oh, that's a good distinction.
Yeah.
Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So the leadership team it's sort of like our board or elder council. You've heard all those terms before. So that the central sort of leadership team for us, we call it the leadership team to try to keep things simple.
Awesome.
I actually liked the term moderator because I did a lot of moderating. I feel like that's mostly what I did was just moderate.
You've done a great job at moderating.
I haven't chaired much. I don't really know that
Although
that's a verb.
technically we
But I
still
have
follow
moderated.
Robert's Rules of Order. So, and at most of the meetings, you're the chair, but you're also by Robert's Rules of Order, you are the moderator because you're in charge of the meeting.
I feel like some of what church does, and organizations in general, is we get stuck in word worship. And like the moderator is so like, I don't know, like the offering, right? Or like we've talked about this in detail, is what is a service? Like a Sunday morning service. And Ryan is not a fan of the term service. And so we actually came up with a new term that we will be using regularly just in our word discussion of the Sunday morning thing.
Is this the moment of the big reveal?
I guess we could. I hadn't planned on saying it. Gathering.
Oh, I like that.
Gathering, because ecclesia, right, is church. It's the Greek term for church, and that literally means a called out gathering.
And to actually gather, you have to go somewhere, right? So it requires participation.
Yes.
A service, on the other hand, is, we're just going to come here and we will be served.
Consume.
Consume, right? That's sort of
Interesting.
the word that the connotation leads to there. So
Now you have a note here about a 1-minute introduction each.
yeah, we've sort of already done this, except for you, Marty. We haven't heard your introduction. We don't know anything about your roots.
Oh, okay, so that's what we were talking. Okay,
Yeah.
Excellent. So my name is Marty Holman. I like long walks on the beach. What do you like to know about me? Why don't you ask me a question so that we can make this
What
easy?
is your least favorite pasta shape?
Easy. Actually, this is easy. Ziti or penne, like the round tubes.
The round tubes. Why
They're just
round
so
tubes?
hard.
Hard with the fork.
They're hard with the fork. And as opposed to like a good tortellini or even like the ribbon one, the little ribbon. Is that, I don't know what the ribbon's called.
Like a linguine or farfalle.
Are you talking about the
I don't know
stuff
how you say
that goes into
Rigatoni
Farfalle?
maybe, rigatoni kind of thing.
Are you talking about the stuff that goes into like vegetable pasta or whatever? Not vegetable pasta.
No, there's like a ribbon one it's shaped like a bow tie pasta.
Oh,
Bow
yeah,
tie.
I like a good bow
The
tie myself.
Yeah.
weirdest pasta shape ever made.
Yes, but you
easy
can.
with the fork,
It's easy
though.
with the fork, and that's a great expression.
It is, but it's like, why am I eating these little people's clothing right now? You know, I don't. You know,
Bow ties or wagon wheels?
wagon wheels. Yeah, that's
I don't
kind of
know.
weird too.
Which one?
But you know what is for me the one? It's elbow pasta that is outside of macaroni and cheese is deeply unsettling.
Meaning it can
Unsettling?
only be used in macaroni and cheese?
Yeah, when it's outside of it, like hamburger helper, it looks so weird.
I feel like pasta has got the best of you here.
The
Like
writing.
unsettling. That there's something unsettling about.
It is. It's just, it feels like it should be in macaroni and cheese. It's like, why is macaroni in whatever that is, you know?
Because my kids literally consume monstrous amounts of that, and Scarlett, my oldest daughter, will not eat cheese unless it's on pizza. So she's like, and she loves those little things you're speaking of, but will not eat cheese.
Wow.
It's true. So
There you go.
maybe we'll have someday a Ryan Scarlett debate on this issue.
Also
cheese and
unsettling, the fact that bow tie pasta can be served cold or hot. Pick a lane, bro. Pick a lane.
I feel
Hey,
like there's some rigid thinking here. We need to work on your
and you're not really a rigid thinker. but
Flexibility.
That's okay. Yeah.
Al dente.
Hey, if you wouldn't mind, if you've already enjoyed this, please subscribe to us on YouTube, the Chaffin Church channel, or Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or Google Podcasts, anywhere you can find audio podcasts. Give us a review. We'd love to have you as a subscriber, and then you'll get the little notifications, which is really kind of fun. And regularly we have new people writing comments, almost always positive, occasionally not.
Occasionally not. You're
Occasionally
right.
not, but it's still been respectful.
Yeah, it was respectful. I would classify 90+% as respectful.
Is this like Sheldon Cooper's Fun with Flags? Like when they have like 2 followers when he does his little YouTube show?
Maybe,
I have not.
or
seen
like
this.
Wayne. I have not seen that. I've been thinking of watching it though.
Fun with
or like
Flags
Wayne.
or The Big Bang Theory?
The Big Bang Theory. It may be like in my world, Wayne's World, yes, which was one of those little 15-minute specials, predating YouTube, of course.
Party on. Excellent.
Yes, yes. So Amanda, getting to know you better here in this venue, what's your favorite fall activity? It's the fall.
Fall is time for making all the fall things in my house. So apple picking for sure, but followed by cooking all the fragrant fall comfort foods, which are Apple Betty, for which I've
What's the
become.
Apple Betty?
Oh, I'll make you some on Sunday.
That would be great.
It's basically apple crisp, but the good kind without the oatmeal.
Really?
What do you
There's
mean?
like a little orange juice in it. It's got like a crumb topping, but no oatmeal.
I would.
So it's just the crumb.
And the apple. But
Right,
not,
I assume
not the
that,
oatmeal.
the apple.
Yeah, anyway, trust me, it's good. I'll bring you some. You've had it before.
I'm sure I
It
have.
must not have been too memorable if you don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
did I have it? I will, let's see how memorable it was. Did I have it at your house in September watching football last year?
No, but I do
Okay.
have a good Marty fragrant fall food smell.
I don't know what that means.
One time, Marty walked into my house and he was like, "What is that smell?" It was like, you know, in cartoons when like the cartoon character smelling the pork chop and he's just
You're
being
giving-
lifted by his nose and like
You're giving credence to
flying along.
his elf
What
theory.
is this? And it was just apple cider with some cinnamon in it. And it was cooking on
Yeah.
the stove, and Marty was like, "Get me some of that."
Yeah.
Like, you were like, "That is the best thing I ever smelled in my whole life."
You know, weeks after that, I had my mother-in-law over, and we had a fire with Carrie and the family, and Darlene, I think, was there. And I made wassail. A
With some
full-on
oranges in it.
Oranges and
Yes.
cider
Yeah,
and
that's how I do it.
cloves. Yeah. So it must have been around that time
Yeah.
that I was like
Oh, it
spurred on.
inspired you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did it. I was like, it was like an amazing night.
So we have the apple things, and then we have the pumpkin things. So like pumpkin bread and pumpkin squares with cream cheese frosting, which my husband will not eat because he is anti-pumpkin. So everyone else in the family is like,
Is he really?
very pro-pumpkin, and Dave Kane
Marty
anti-pumpkin.
is forming a negative opinion of your husband.
I really love Dave, and we have an issue here. This is a problem of sorts. I don't remember ever hearing that he dislikes pumpkin.
Opposed to
Really?
pumpkin. So
I'm
it's
gonna-
one of those things you know. He knows we love it, and he appreciates it from afar.
At least he's like that.
Pumpkin adjacent.
At least he's like that, because sometimes people are like, oh no, pumpkin. Oh, they're horrible. Oh, I can't believe you like that. Ah.
Well, you can test the theory whenever you like.
Okay, I plan on it, and I plan on giving him a pumpkin pie, piece of pumpkin pie, sooner than later.
So good. Yeah. No, he's not a pumpkin pie lover either.
What's
so
your-
yeah, that's my favorite fall stuff.
What's your favorite fall activity?
I just have these great memories of running around in the woods with my brother and just the leaves crunching into your feet and the bright colors everywhere.
Dead bodies.
The dead bodies.
Can we edit that?
No. So yeah, that's sort of I really like getting out into nature in the fall in particular because yeah, it's just beautiful, and the something about the way the air feels and smells with the leaves coming down. You just can't get that outside of New England. Like when I lived in Chicago and Washington, it just wasn't the same.
And it's very leafy there.
Yeah. Well,
Washington, yes, but you don't have the reds.
I was also in central
Oh, you have
Washington,
evergreen?
You don't have red
which
leaves.
essentially is a desert. So
Where?
central Washington state is essentially a desert.
Oh, okay.
So,
Really?
yeah, so there were very few trees.
I am also a Pacific Northwesterner. Did you know that?
I think I remember.
we had this
yeah,
conversation?
I think a little bit.
Yeah.
I think a little bit.
Oregon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good stuff. Do you know what I did this past weekend?
No.
Top 10 fall activity. I'll keep it brief.
Tugis Farm.
We went canoeing in Bar Harbor,
Oh.
and it was for my son's parent weekend at College of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And they said, let's go on a canoe trip and we'll do some cranberry picking. And I've done cranberry picking around here, and it's always been like on a trail, like on dry land.
Okay.
So we're canoeing down this creek, and they said, okay, pull over. This is where we're getting out. And I was like, that's not dry land. That's not land. No, it was a bog, muddy bog. They said, you might want to take your shoes off so you don't lose them in the bog. So literally, Dave and myself and my son and all these parents, I was like, I'm going to walk through this bog. with
Oh,
no shoes on.
my word.
I trudged through the bog. I found a stick to hold on to. I was clinging onto it for dear life. I was so worried I was going to like step in a sinkhole or
Oh, my word.
God knows what else. I made it through life, but top 10 fall moment.
That's
for me.
fantastic. I went to Tuga's farm after I went to Austin.
Did you get your picture taken on the tractor?
No, but I took Xander's.
Oh, good.
It was one of those things where I got home at 2:00 from the airport, and the kids all came in, and it's like 8:30. I'm super tired, and Scarlett's like, "Is it time?" Like they had talked about this. Is it time? And I was like, "We're going to Tuga's farm, aren't we?" I just knew it. It was such a beautiful day. And they're like, and Carrie was like, "No, we don't have to. It's been a busy day." I'm like, "Let's do it." So we got together, went out there. It was a beautiful day. We got, picking apples is an expensive thing these days.
Yeah, it is.
No joke. Mm-hmm. Guess how much a bag of apples are?
How much?
$35.
Hmm.
45, 50?
$53.
What?
Whoa.
Now it's really for 5 people with a plus. So it's 46 plus our 6th person.
This is no offense to Tuga's farm whatsoever.
You're right. I love it. We'll go back.
Many
It's a
places to
family.
pick apples.
It's a family thing. And anyways, so that's
Paid
our.
for the experience.
We paid for the experience.
Yes, you did.
And we had playground, and we had apple donuts, apple cider donuts. Went on the tractor.
When you go apple picking with 4 kids, it's over in like a second.
Carrie and I talked about that. It really was. She was like, "I don't remember it being this short." Well, last year it was. Yeah, but I mean, before this. I'm like, yeah, because it took longer.
Yes.
And there was
They're
fewer
like,
4-year-olds.
Bags full, everything's done. Let's go play on the playground.
Yeah. So that was our singing time, if you're watching this for church. And now we're going to get into the meat. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
and
ready.
Amanda is bringing it today at Chaffin Church, including on this podcast. And she's going to be talking about community and specifically taking care of one another.
Is that my segue?
Well, it was a segue. I was going to see if you wanted to roll with something.
Oh, all
right. Let me just ask you this. Who are the people we're taking care of in a church setting?
Isn't this is like the Sesame Street song, like who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood.
In your neighborhood. Who are you
Trying to
people
remember
in
this
the
song,
neighborhood?
but just nothing is.
The people that you meet when you're walking down the street. The people that you meet each day. I'm sorry.
I mean, you don't remember
my mind.
I don't remember that song in particular. I watched
you need a
Sesame
hug.
Street quite a bit. That song is a
You're
lie.
vaccinated, right?
Did not.
That song is a lie.
I'm sorry. Ask the question again. Squirrel.
So who are we taking care of?
Okay.
In regards
So-
to the church.
Well, with this early access series that
Yeah.
we've been doing, we're talking about the folks that are already here, right? So if you're a visitor, welcome, and we're glad that you're here, and you can jump on board with us anytime you want. But I think probably our focus right now is on the folks that have chosen to make Chaffin their home,
Yeah.
or who are seriously considering making Chaffin their home.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? We've been talking about turning community into family, but that just doesn't happen by itself, right? So, so we're talking about the family of the church, small c, here at Chaffin.
Yeah. And so let's delve into our church backgrounds here a little
Okay.
bit. Have you guys had good church experiences in terms of this topic, taking care of one another?
The church that I grew up at, it's not open anymore. It merged with another church, but I always felt very well taken care of growing up there. It felt like family. There were lots of really, really good Swedish meatballs. So many of those.
So many good Swedish meatballs.
So many good Swedish meatballs. And and they would, there was a scholarship fund, for instance. So when I went away to college, it wasn't like a ton of money, but it was a good amount, like for a church to be able to offer literally all of their kids. It was very, very generous
Really?
of them.
To all the kids?
All the kids.
Wow.
All the kids got it. And so just very, very happy to have received that. And so on the practical side of things like that, we were taken care of. But also I just sort of knew that I could go up to any of those adults in that church when I was a kid and be like, hey, I have this problem, like, what should I do about it? And I knew they would help me somehow, you know?
Wow, that's a great feeling. I had a very similar situation growing up. Just being able to trust most of the adults and think highly of most of the adults in the church. And it was larger church in terms of several hundred. And there was a lot of good feeling, even though it was weird with their rules and their fundamentalist ways. It was very good community-wise.
Yeah. Me too. I have no complaints. I grew up in great churches. I was loved up by all kinds of great people and mentored and got involved and made some lifelong friends and felt like part of community. But there were definitely different seasons of community for me, like having lived on the East Coast and the West Coast and then back on the East Coast and various stages of my life being involved in different churches. So unlike you, I didn't just grow up in one church.
Okay, yep.
I grew up, in a New England church in Northborough,
Yep.
Massachusetts, and then I grew up in a church in Oregon and then moved back out here. I mean, we had a variety of different places depending on what stage of life, but there was a continuity certainly of like when we moved to a new area, it was like you moved there, you found your church, you plugged yourself in, and that was your home. So those people certainly became like family in each one of those places that I lived. In fact, one of those places, the very first one, I ended up going back to as an adult, like the place where I first went when I was just a little tiny girl and grew up, and then left, did all those things, got married, had kids, lived in all sorts of different places, and then came to a point in our life where we needed to make a change, and we were like, where should we go? And I actually reached out. I didn't know what to do, where to move, how to find a job, where to live, but I thought maybe I'd like to go back there because I still had that sense that was a home base for me. Wow. So I actually reached out to a couple of people at the church and just asked, do you know if there's housing that we could access? Do you know if there's a job opportunity? And there actually was an open ministry opportunity at that church and a teaching opportunity in the town, and that's how we came. We got plugged right back in. So it was like I never left.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Now, so that was multi-generational, right? You were early on. Was there a difference in the community early on that you felt versus later on, or?
Sure. I mean, people come and go. Not all of the same folks were there. So a lot of them were. But the church had grown and gone through its own changes and maturing process over those years. So when I came back, it wasn't identical, but there were certainly a lot of things that were familiar and comforting. So, yeah, I've had great experiences. I've had good, not just in the church, but also had the opportunity to work at a Christian camp and go to a Christian college, and those were very much similar kinds of communities. With a little more intensive community experience in those places because you're living together and worshiping together.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question.
It amplifies the community experience big time.
Let's say when you went out of those, like when you were in college, right? Mm-hmm. I had an intensive college community as well, Christian-wise. And then you leave, there's definitely a difference, especially in our very individualistic world, society that we live in. Did that hurt you at all, like leaving those places, or was that comforting for a while, community-wise?
Leaving
the intense community for different types of maybe more laid-back community.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, it was for a season of my life, and I think the older I get, the more I'm realizing that it's okay to have those different needs at different times and plug yourself into a community that fits with where you are in your life. And I don't think I've really lost any of those communities even now. I think it's more like, it's like when you find out you're having another baby and you think, how can I possibly love another baby and then your heart just gets bigger and you just have more love.
Unless you're the Grinch.
That's what happens
You
when
get
you...
smaller.
I don't think you saw the end of that movie.
Oh, he did. Yes, eventually. Good call.
Leave it to Marty to bring this all back to a Christmas movie.
I
Yeah, I mean, I'm still friends with and still keep in touch with and consider close family and friends, people from every single one of those places.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are positive and positive
Yeah, very
scenarios.
positive. Not to say there was never drama.
Dun dun dun.
Sometimes there's drama. We're human, right? It happens. It's
It
part
does.
of every community.
Drama.
And every family.
Most certainly does happen in churches.
Yeah, and we've talked about our drama that we've had in episodes 2 and something else.
Okay.
Good stuff. So, what are some, going into the negative parts of community, if you could even say that, what are some barriers to community? Like,
Human nature.
Okay.
The fact that there's people.
okay. Okay, so what kind of people or what types of events or lead to drama?
Well, there's like the high profile stuff that we read about in the news, right? Scandal and
Dun dun dun.
secrets and crime and terrible things which happen
Yep.
sometimes in churches.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's ways to avoid that happening, and hopefully we're doing a good job keeping track of you people to make sure nothing
You do a great
nefarious
job.
is going on.
You do a great job chairing.
There's
us.
no scandal that I'm aware of. Anyway,
That's the thing about
so
scandal.
those are like
You never really know.
those are the big
You
things.
never know. Dun dun dun.
But then there's like the quieter, more individual things like flawed leaders who have their own personal struggles. And I think those sometimes can impact the community. So I guess I'm saying that not because I'm not looking at anybody in particular in this room. I'm thinking about an experience I had with one of those communities I mentioned where it turned out our pastor had some serious stuff going on, and it was hurtful to the community. It was hard. I think people feel a sense of disillusionment, and sometimes they feel let down, and people can have very high expectations of people in leadership, as well they should. It's a big responsibility, but when those things happen, those can really damage a community. But I think on the even more basic level, there's other things that can really be barriers to being healthy, like apathy. Like just not giving a hoot,
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Like we were just talking about, kind of being a
Good.
consumer rather than a participant. The idea that you just come to consume and be entertained and then you leave,
Yep.
or you just don't come at all, or you kind of just don't care, But I think probably the most damaging thing for me on a personal level, beyond scandal and apathy and those kinds of things, is relational stuff where there's resentment or anger or gossip or backbiting within a community.
Yeah.
Those things I think can really tear people apart. And it's hard if you keep engaging and keep coming to the community when you've got a chip on your shoulder and you're not willing to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You hang on with your claws and maybe you don't really do anything productive to contribute to the community or to change things, but you hang on to hurt feelings. And I say that because I've done that.
Yeah.
And I actually left a church for that reason. At one point I was like, they're doing this thing that's different and fine, but it's not my thing that I like anymore. And I'm finding every time I come, all I can do is think about how mad I am that they're not doing things my way.
Oh, interesting.
And that's part of the reason why I changed churches, because I felt like I think I'm getting in the way of what's happening in this community. Like I'm bringing negativity to the table, and I recognize that in myself, and I felt like that season was done for me. So
That's good.
yeah.
Do you think there will ever be a time when the Western church, I'm going to use this term, evolves beyond, I don't know, so like like we have a congregational model here, right? Mm-hmm. And we've seen the problems with staff-led churches. We've seen problems with congregational churches. Is there a way to just kind of push through that for the betterment of everyone involved in the church? So for instance, what happens a lot of times in all the drama is the little people who need to be taken care of. I don't mean little people in a demeaning way at all.
No, I know what you mean, yeah.
The people who won't always be on the stage, but who may need help buying milk on a weekly basis. Those people are part of the church, right? And do you think that we will ever evolve past the drama to be able to really think about the wider church audience?
Well, I don't know if I can speak for the church, capital C, but I think for Chatham, absolutely that's possible.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, if you think about, we just talked about like positive community experiences we've had, and we know what made those things successful, right? You have shared experiences, you have a common investment in the greater good, you have a sense that everybody is taking care of one another, you feel like you're part of something, you feel like people are approachable and care for you and that you're supposed to be there, that you belong there. There's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of common mission. Mm-hmm. It can work. We've all had it work for us.
Yeah.
So I think it's absolutely possible that can be the case here, and I think it already is the case to a pretty good degree. But yeah. I think we got a little interrupted with COVID.
COVID interrupted.
Many communities were.
Yeah, crazy.
But I think it's a remarkable thing that this community has been resilient through that.
Yeah.
And that we're sitting here still talking, and we're in this new space, and we've grown, and the church is still thriving. Like, that's a pretty good sign that we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. So what does the healthy community look like? Like, what does it look like and feel like to us and to other people, both inside this room and outside in the community?
Well, I can tell you off the top of my head, I think I know what it's not.
It's always easy to go to the negative.
I don't think it's about many of the things that are often considered success, like numbers, for example, or how much money is in the bank account, or those kinds of things. I mean, not to say that those things aren't great, but they should be the fruit of a healthy community and not the other way around.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be the healthy community, not how many people are sitting in the seats, or how many people are tithing, or how many people are serving, or it should be the health of the community and bringing people to Christ, right? So I think if we're doing those things first, I think those other things should naturally follow, and that would be a good way to perhaps reflect and say, like, are those things following? Is there something we need to do on this side to make sure that people are feeling fed and feeling like they belong and like they're being taken care of? But that doesn't, like I said, it doesn't happen by accident. It's not the sort of thing that you just show up on Sunday morning and expect for community to, like, magically we're a community.
It's magically delicious.
It's a mindset. It's an intention. Mm-hmm. It's a frame of mind that says, I'm part of something and I'm going to participate. Because I think without those shared experiences, like I said, some of those most intense, most valuable experiences were the ones where we all lived together, like, or worked together, like at camp or in college, like where you're sharing everything, right? If I had just gone to my dorm and taken my classes and never saw anybody and never did any clubs and never participated and never ate in the dining hall, would I have had that same experience? Probably not. Like, you have to move the needle. You have to make a choice to be part of making that happen.
So what would you say to people who like coming on Sunday morning and then like leaving, which is really what the American church kind of got used to, right? Come in, leave, and then, but that's not really taking care of one another, right? I mean, that's essentially apathy in a church. And so what would you say to somebody who was just like, I have my family, I have my work friends, I have all those people, and I just don't have time to invest. I have 1 hour on Sunday, I'm in and I'm out.
I get that. This might not be the place for you.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's intense.
Well,
I mean, maybe it's true.
listen, don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think Chaffin Church has cornered the market on church. I think we are.
That's true.
We are a
That's
church,
really good.
right?
Correct.
There's lots of churches,
And there are churches who really love when people just come in and leave.
There are. And if that's what you need right now in your life, there are places you can do that.
Interesting.
Theoretically, you can do that here too, but you're not going to get the real benefit of being part of this community.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get on board with what God is doing in terms of relationships.
Yeah.
I really think without shared experiences, and that can be a lot of different things. Not everybody is an extrovert. Not everybody does well with the Sunday morning chit chat. That can be
That's
hard.
true.
That's not really
I don't really
where
understand, but that's
like
true.
the
Fair
deep work happens over the donuts.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good touchstone.
Yep.
It's a good time to be like, yep, I see you. I'm on my way somewhere. We got soccer. We got this. We got, and off we go. And that's okay. But I think there's more to being a church than Sunday morning, for sure. There's the formal structured things that the church facilitates, activities, service opportunities, those kinds of things. But there's also just maybe picking out somebody that you want to get to know better, or, having coffee with someone, or taking a minute to ask how things are going. Like there's ways I think that we can meet each other in those places of need without it necessarily having to be the Sunday morning coffee hour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if that's overwhelming to you, that's okay. We like introverts here.
Absolutely.
You
And
can
clearly,
be an introvert.
this is different than the person who's never been to church in their life, and
Correct.
You may very well need to come in, sort of just skip most people on the way out, and just because you don't want to get overwhelmed on your first time here or at any church.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true. But yeah, it's all about baby steps. To maybe talk to whoever's pouring the coffee or handing people out the donuts.
More than likely, you've talked to me.
There you go, because you're usually over there. Yeah.
I do think there is something compelling about this group of people, though. And I can say that because I know, we are speaking to our people right now.
Yeah.
You
Are you
guys
including?
awesome.
Are you including Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Even the blockheads.
Oh.
Especially.
The blockhead.
I will tell you, I have told many people the thing that I like the most about Chaffin as a community
The two pulpits.
is the
Oh, sorry.
is the authenticity.
Authenticity.
Is what I was going to say.
Okay.
And nobody paid me to say that. It wasn't in the script. Marty wasn't like, be sure you talk about authenticity. It's not like in the talking points. It's just been my experience of these people that they are who they say they are.
Yeah.
And they are genuinely, we are, as a community, genuinely caring, loving people. And I'm a big believer in boundaries. I think that's okay. I think I went through, I've spoken about this before, some pretty painful times in my life where I had to step away from a lot of stuff. I was very deeply involved in my church. I was in paid ministry in my church. I went probably 3 years, maybe longer, maybe 5 years, where I said no to everything.
Wow.
But I'll tell you, that was a time when I felt the most loved on, cared for, protected, supported by my church community.
Wow.
Because I knew people were there for me. My circle got real small, but
Okay.
it was within the church were the people that were holding me up and keeping me steady during that time. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be a big time suck. And frankly, if it feels like a time suck, or if going to church feels like a bitter pill, like I said, maybe it's the wrong church. Or maybe you have some growing to do, or some questions you want to ask, or maybe there's something there that you want to talk about that's making it, why don't you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
But I do think if what you're looking for is to be loved and welcomed, this is a good place to start. And I would hope that what you bring to the table as a piece of that is equally as loving and accepting and intentional as what's already here, to sort of seed that moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just ask, what do you think, and I've been asking this question every podcast episode recently, what do you think about the person who maybe is listening, isn't a Christian, really has no intention right now, at least, of going to church, but they're just sort of listening out of curiosity? What the heck? What would you say to that person? Why does any of this even matter to them? Why does building community here, why should that matter to people out there?
I think there's something qualitatively different about church community over and above other kinds of communities. Anybody can join a social club or a civic organization. Anybody could go to the Swedish Supper, or belong to the Italian club, or be on a men's softball team, or what have you. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to get community, right? And those are all places where you can make friends and get support. But what's different about church? Why church? So I think that it seems like an oversimplification, but I think Jesus is what makes us different. It's because we're all called in that purpose together. And it also means that we love each other in a little bit different way, I think, than you might experience in other social groups, right? You have affinity groups, you have cultural groups, you have clubs, you have common interests, but none of those places, require that you forgive one another and bear one another's burdens and,
that's so good.
Pour into each other in spiritual ways.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't think those kinds of social experiences can meet that need. There are powerful social experiences, but this one is different in that way. Would you agree with that?
I mean, that was a really good answer. That's really good. I would agree with that. I wonder, years ago, I don't know if it was you and I, but I went to a conference, and Craig Rochelle, the guy who did YouVersion and wrote a whole bunch of books, he had just put out a book called It. And he was talking about things that, like any alive church has it. And you can't explain it, and you don't know how it's happening, but it kind of sounds like what you just said and what you just experienced. Like it's a fresh authenticity, but also there's a really valid, Jesus is over above all of these things and connecting people and connecting hearts in ways that are like you said, don't always happen. Like you might have friendship, but you don't always have like super community where you want to love those people. I mean, you should, but sometimes hearts are bound. I think, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, this is Colossians 3, such as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing it to God with gratitude in your hearts. And I think that right there, and probably a few other passages in the New Testament that Paul addresses, really speaks to that it can't just be us coming in here doing things administratively and me preaching and or you preaching like you will be this week, right? But it has to be really our hearts transformed and connecting with one another in ways that they would not outside of the presence of Christ.
Yeah, I think the Holy Spirit is game changer.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the same as being at the World Series and
Yes.
watching the Red Sox win and having that moment of like, yay! and then
Except in
going home.
2004. That was super spiritual.
That's a nice community, but it's not the same.
It's not the
It's
same.
not the same. Those people will not be there when
Yeah.
you're like crying on the floor because your kid's
That's
going
true.
to college and you don't know if you're going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Oh,
Or,
apparently that's happened to you.
sorry, that came out really viscerally.
It's okay.
That did happen to me once. Yeah, it did. But I was able to be that person for somebody else too, so it goes
Awesome.
around, comes around.
Yeah.
I would say on just a very practical level, like even if like these people aren't Christians, hey, take God out of it. What's the deal, right?
Yep.
I think like social psychologists have proven, over the years, ritual is very, very important in people's lives. It doesn't necessarily have to be religious ritual, but religion is one of those places that it's just built in, and it's very easy to come in and get on board. We have thousands of years, literally thousands of years of experience having people get involved in these rituals with us, right? So it's an easy way to hop on board with that. And then just this concept of synchrony, right? So it's whenever you're synchronizing, like let's say when you're singing a Christian song with other people, that is so deeply good for you psychologically. And it feels good too. You ever been to like a U2 concert, or you've even seen a U2 concert, on YouTube or whatever?
Yep.
Every like hundreds of thousands of people sing. We don't have 100,000 people here, but there is some of that still here as well. When you can hear the people next to you singing, and you're trying your best to sing the same notes, but it's happening, right? I just think like even if the God thing is just totally foreign to you, it's like a turn off to any conversation. There are so many good things that can just come out of even just showing up on a Sunday to a church. But yeah, clearly the things that were previously brought up, that deeper level of community is, we would all rate that very highly, right? And it's very, very helpful to, I'll say it, my mental health.
Yeah,
like just
it
being a
definitely
part
is.
of a Christian community. I just feel so much better about myself, the direction my life is taking, and on some level, and I don't want to get too metaphysical here, but I no longer just have like my own feelings and my own experiences, but in some way, like who I am is sort of like bound up in this community that I'm a part of, So, Western culture is very, very individualistic when it comes to responsibility, but many high context cultures, like Japanese culture, for instance, when there's a mass shooting in the United States, we always, we might feel a little bit bad for the people that got shot, but we generally, the shooter, we're like, oh, that was horrible that he did that. In Japanese culture, if there's a mass shooting, there is a profound sense of shame felt by everyone in the community, not
that's so
just the
interesting.
shooter. And so you become sort of this, I'm trying not to sound cultish here, but you sort of become part of this like living organism, right? Like it's like the community has feelings, the community has its own culture and its own desires, and the community has its own future that may or may not be the same as the collective parts of that community. And so interesting, because that's a great way to explain that. On the reverse though, have you read Malcolm Gladwell's book? Which one? Outliers? Yeah.
I think you have. Because he talked about the Asian culture when they, in pilots, and the problem that brought with them, because they were so bound to their authority that they one of the reasons for, like, a pilot can be run by one person, right? A plane can be run by one person, but they were so bound by their authority that
The co-pilots weren't
the
challenging
co-pilots
the pilots.
weren't challenged, so there were more
Interesting.
accidents. And so that's where I think one of the greatest struggles, and we could go, I mean, this is going to bring us way back. One of the greatest struggles of the American church and in general America right now is the divide between this individualism and communal living, and the fight that we have between one and the other. And really that's what the Cold War was all about, theoretically. But here we are in the church going through these same things.
I'll tell you, there's two things about Chapman that I think are very unique. One is, I picked up on something you said about, like, I don't want to be too cultish, right? The idea that some religious communities or cult communities, you kind of have to leave your brain at the door and you just are supposed to be like a sheep and do what the leadership is telling you to do. And I don't think that's the case here at all.
Right.
This is very much a collaborative effort.
But we also don't want to come across that way. Like
Right.
ideally, no one will ever be like, oh, Chapman, they're so corporate-y and they're so,
Yeah,
what would you call it? Like the leader, Marty is type A and just authoritarian.
Yeah.
Like we don't know.
I don't think
any
that's
of
the
that.
case, yeah. And I think people very much bring their brain with them to church and to leadership and to conversations that we have. So that's one thing for sure, is like everybody, we want you to be thinking critically and having tough conversations and talking with one another. And secondly, I think there's always been, among this bunch of people that I'm now familiar with and consider family after not too very long of a time knowing everybody, there's always been a sense that I felt like folks were welcome to come without a sense that we wanted you to come so we could fix you. You know how some churches, they have that sort of, you feel like, I don't know if I'm going to be welcome there. They're going to want me to change and be this other kind of thing. Or not be myself or not be who I am. And I think there's definitely a sense that, I mean, we're all growing for sure. It's not to say there isn't room for growth, but I think people are welcome to come as they are and to feel comfortable and to feel like they can be a part of what's going on, even if they are a seeker or they're not sure or they have a lot of questions or they don't know if they're good enough or in the right place to be part of a church. Like I've never gotten that sense from this community of people.
Yeah, I think in the ideal environment, the fixing comes through relationships.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean, I don't imagine you think this, but you or me or Ryan speaking up here on a Sunday and believing that everybody's problems will go away because of these amazing things that we've said, right? And now, certainly people can be challenged in the context of preaching, and that's, I completely believe that. But if that's where we're hedging if that's where we're trying to put all the load of spiritual growth on one time a week for an hour.
It's not a TV show.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
It's a community.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people put this like incredibly strict, very fast timeline on life change, seeing evidence of life change. And don't get me wrong, I do think there is a place to like fake it till you make it. And we actually talked about that in Al's episode a lot. But for the most part, like you can't approach somebody's heart directly. Like that's a God thing, you know. God is transforming people.
Yeah.
We play a limited role, but we're not doing any of that, you know. And so
it happens slowly over time, over shared experience. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like we've just talked about some things.
Yeah, we have.
All the things.
All the things. We have just fixed your problem in this hour. Hey, Amanda, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Your first premiere episode of your co-hosting with us, or
Nice.
guest starring. And thank you for it. I won't say you should check out Sunday because you'll already be checking out Sunday if you're here. So I will just say this, a couple of things. Some chaffing good news. A couple people's birthday. Many of us know Corrine Menino.
Yeah.
It's her birthday this week. Happy birthday,
Happy
Corrine.
birthday, Corrine.
Yeah. Also, fewer of us know this guy, but Seamus Leary, Sean's son. It's his birthday. He turns something.
Is he the ice cream truck guy?
He's the ice cream truck guy. He has brought my kids ice cream a few times this summer.
Okay.
Thankful for that guy. And then finally, this Monday was the Swedish Supper, and it was an amazing success, meaning many people came and enjoyed the fruits of the servants here at Chaffin. They did an amazing job cooking and volunteering and loving on the community who came.
Food was good.
Food was good. We had about I think right around 70 people who had the food. We had to turn people away.
Wow.
Because we didn't have enough food for those who came. They didn't sign up in time.
That's awesome.
Many people came in that day, and we had to be like, you only have so much. So
Wow.
we'll have to think about that for the future. And it was an
It's a good
exciting
problem
time.
to have.
Yeah, it was our first Swedish Supper to go. So that's our good news.
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, we
There's
have more.
one more.
We have more good news.
Did you know that October is Pastor Appreciation Month?
I did know that.
Is this like Christmas morning where you've just been waiting for somebody to mention? I mean, what is today, the 11th, the 12th, or wait, it's the 17th.
It's the 17th. No,
Have
it
you
will be
just
the
been
17th.
waking up each
Today
morning
is
going,
the 13th
is
of October.
anyone going to remember it's Pastor Appreciation?
I've had years where that's happened.
I wake up every day and say the same thing about Middle Child Day. But you know what? Does anyone
Oh,
ever remember?
Ryan.
No.
No.
Nobody ever
Well,
remembers.
I just want you guys to know that you are appreciated.
Thank you.
And I think there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that I don't think people realize happens, like a text message that says, oh my gosh, there's water in the basement, or the thing we ordered didn't come yet, or somebody's in the hospital. I mean, it's just changing all the time, and you guys, both of you and Al and Dan and the leadership of the church, but particularly those of you who are in pastoral roles, and particularly Marty, have done so with humility and grace and resilience and perseverance. And I know it's not always easy, and it can be challenging, and there can be a lot of feelings and a lot of humanity in all of it, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to take a second to say we appreciate you. And if you're watching this, tell these guys how much you love them.
Thank you very much, and turn in your Bibles. I don't know.
We love you. Oh, it's wonderful. We heard it.
It's awesome. And yeah, good news. It's
Yeah,
Pastor
good stuff.
Appreciation Month. There have been months where I have gone through and nobody said anything, and I mean it's been a while now. It's
Does it
been.
make you sad?
I am self-aware enough to know that it is life, and that I too have skipped birthdays more than once of people close to me. In fact, probably both of yours. It makes me like, oh, but not sad. Like for a moment, momentarily sad.
Well, I think sometimes we all need to be told that we're seen and that our efforts are seen and appreciated.
It's
and
true.
I know you guys, particularly this year, have done a tremendous amount of work, and it's much appreciated by all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, we're there. We've come to minute 58. Is there anything else we need to say? That's
Pasta, cartoons,
Apple.
apples,
Apple.
pumpkins,
Apple what? Apple bubble.
Apple Betty,
Apple Betty. Apple Betty. And
community, blockheads, meatballs, good news, appreciation.
That's all the things, right?
That's
there.
all the things.
That's all the things.
Peace out.
that has been your good news today.
Now go and give some out.